It's back to school season, and Clorox is donating 2 million disinfecting wipes to classrooms across America. Because back to school means things can get a little bit messy. Just ask second grade teacher Mr. Torres.
Put me and just one Clorox wipe on a team? We can take on crayon smudges, sticky fingerprints on every surface, sneezes on the door handle, juice box explosion by the sink, snack crumbs, and don't even get me started on the bathroom passes.
Clorox disinfecting wipes. Teacher's #1 wipe.
Think about it. Bathroom passes.
Clean feels good. Based on unit sales data.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. Between two-factor authentication, strong passwords, and a VPN, you try to be in control of how your info is protected. But many other places also have it, and they might not be as careful. That's why LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second for threats. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for 40% off. Terms apply.
This podcast contains adult themes and language, and some of the things that we discuss may be disturbing to some listeners. In this podcast, we discuss sexual assault, torture, race, and murder. Listener discretion is advised. Please take care of yourself.
Let's get into the early life of Darlene George. She was born Darlene Williams in 1965 in Brooklyn, New York, and she was known for her strong personality and unwavering determination. And we don't know much about her early life, but we do know that Darlene had an older brother named Jeffrey Williams, who had an extensive criminal record that included robbery and attempted robbery.
Right. But Darlene, she pursued a higher education. Mm-hmm. She got a job, a good job, and eventually met a man named Franklin Whiteman, whom she married. And in 1994, the couple welcomed a son that they named Giovanni. But their marriage ended shortly afterwards in divorce.
Franklin does not appear to have been involved in Giovanni's life following the divorce. I mean, even after this happened with Darlene, I didn't see his name pop up. Did you?
No.
Okay.
No.
Darlene, however, was described as a devoted and committed mother, deeply caring and actively engaged in her son's life.
And we also know from our Fruity, who recommended this story, that Darlene George was very intelligent. She has a good sense of humor, and she's resourceful and driven.
So now let's get into the timeline. So Darlene George met Rennie Cassimi at a party in New York around 1994 and 1995. Cassimi, a charismatic and skilled soccer player from Trinidad, had a reputation with the ladies. He was a ladies' man.
Yeah.
And had no criminal record, but he referred to himself as a gigolo.
Yeah. Yeah, when they first were referring to him as a gigolo, I was like, what? But he referred to himself as a gigolo.
But you know, in the 90s, I felt like, wasn't there a movie that came out with Rob Schneider about him being a gigolo? Yeah. And it was
I don't think
comedy?
I don't think it's as far as sex work goes, being a gigolo is not looked down upon, I don't think.
You know what? That's interesting. That's the patriarchy's fault.
Yep, exactly.
Right? It's sex work, and gigolo-ness is uplifted. Yeah. And if a woman or somebody else does it, then, no.
Yeah. So Cassimi had moved to New York in 1993 after landing a job there, but he struggled financially, and the women he met supplemented his income. He did have a wife in Trinidad, but she did not join him in the U.S.
I didn't know that this whole time. All the sources. I did not catch that.
I can't remember where I read that, but...
Okay.
If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I read it somewhere that he had a wife in Trinidad.
Okay.
But that she stayed
I totally
in
believe.
Trinidad.
Listen, girl.
Yeah.
The OG of True Crime said, and she's cross-referenced, triple-referenced. So I trust your judgment. But, we're not always right. So if Fruity's out there
if
listening,
we're wrong, let us know.
Different, let us know, please.
Yep.
So at some point after Cassimi met George, they began an intimate relationship. She later offered him a place to live in an apartment complex she owned. And can we just talk about the Black excellence of a Black woman owning
an apartment complex
building? Yeah. And this would be a success story if this was not Fruitloops serial killers of color.
Yeah.
So their affair continued even after George met and married another man named Winston George, who's our victim.
Right. And Winston was born and raised in Trinidad.
She must have a taste for Caribbean men, which, by the way,
actually, somebody did mention that she loved Caribbean men.
They're kind of irresistible.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
It's true.
Okay. Side note. Okay. My mom is Belizean, and I went to Belize to stay with my grandparents for like a month or so. And I met a boy, and he swept me off my feet. He was my pen pal, like boyfriend, for like a good year after I got back. Like, because he just talked me off my feet. And when you go to the Caribbean, or you, even in New York, and you're around these men, the way they sweet talk you,
just charming.
If you're not used to it, and me, again, I was a heavy, dark-skinned black girl from the Pacific Northwest, and I thought I was the ugliest thing in the whole wide world and worthless. And so when these men were like being nice to me and saying that I was pretty and, hey, pretty girl, kind of, the way they sweet talk you sounds like a song, music.
Yeah, it
does.
Yeah.
Oh. So anyway, I get it. I get being swept up.
Yeah.
Girl, I get it.
So when Winston was in his 20s, he moved to New York, where he lived with his siblings and found steady work in renovation. He did well for himself, taking on various jobs in the city. In 1995, he met Darlene Whiteman, a 29-year-old divorcee and single mother to a 1-year-old boy named Giovanni.
The two began dating and remained together for several years. Over time, Winston became a father figure to Giovanni. Winston is a great man.
Yeah.
Obvious. I feel like
everybody who talked about him loved him. Yeah.
Yes. Winston was the only father that Giovanni had ever known. And in 2002, Winston and Darlene got married.
Yeah, and I saw one video where they talked to his sister.
Yes, yes.
His family loved Darlene.
Yeah.
They thought that they were a great couple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It all seemed really, really wonderful.
Yeah.
Seemed wonderful.
Seemed, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after their wedding, Darlene was offered a $50,000 relocation package to manage a new business venture in Maine. So she and Winston accepted the opportunity, and the family relocated to Old Orchard Beach. Winston soon found work at a nearby medical supply company.
So they're moving on up.
Yeah.
Move on up. In later testimony, Giovanni shared that he and his mother spoke on the phone daily while she was at work, and that she regularly helped him with his homework. So an involved mother, very attentive. And he also loved Winston and said he worked a lot, but was always fun to be around when he was home.
But the couple's busy work schedules left George feeling lonely and restless. Kissimmee brought excitement to her life. They stayed in close contact, speaking daily, sometimes more than 10 times a day, on a cell phone that George paid for.
George also returned to New York about twice a month to visit her family and check on the small apartment building she owned where Kissimmee lived. They saw each other during these visits, and he occasionally traveled to Maine, staying in motels where George would come to meet him. Their affair continued even after Kissimmee was diagnosed as HIV positive, which is very interesting. And also, HIV used to be a death sentence. It afflicts Black people in the diaspora more than other populations, including Black people in the continent of Africa, in the Caribbean, and in the United States.
It seems like she just could not resist him for whatever reason.
Exactly. He was, and again, if you've ever met a Caribbean man, they are irresistible. I'm telling you. All that to say, me personally, I didn't know that about his HIV diagnosis, and I just want to say, because this is a show about true crime and people of color, HIV does afflict people of color more often than other people.
Right.
So it's an important thing, I think, to just highlight.
And I think that's due to racism.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And don't get me started.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Giovanni later said that his mother and stepfather got along fine, though they did occasionally argue at night after he went to bed. He recalled meeting his uncle, Jeffrey Williams, only a handful of times.
Giovanni had also seen Rennie Kissimmee on several occasions at Kissimmee's apartment in New York, and twice in Maine, where he stayed at a motel near Palace Playland, an amusement park located near the pier in Old Orchard Beach.
Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
According to Kissimmee, George often complained about her marriage, but said she didn't want a divorce because she didn't want to divide ownership of their properties. And they didn't just own the apartment complex. They had a house, actually 2 houses in Old Orchard Beach. Probably one was a rental property. I don't know.
Oh.
And then the apartment complex. And Winston George also owned 2 properties in Trinidad, which he had inherited from his family. So they had 5 properties total.
5 properties. And a couple things to point out. George, Darlene, is an African-American Black woman.
Right.
And her husband is a Caribbean Black person. And there are differences amongst the diaspora. And I've talked about this before, that Caribbean people and African people will look at Black people in America and think, you guys, you're so lucky because you were born here, and they come here. And they
hustle.
Yeah, they have the hustle and maybe like higher self-esteem or self-confidence coming from maybe a more Black, homogenous type of society. And so they get here and it's just grind. And the obstacles that they face, and I'm generalizing, obviously this is not true for everybody are a little bit different. And so I think what is really beautiful about their particular story is this is a level of success that a lot of people of color will never achieve.
Yeah.
A building, bitch.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And so it's really wonderful, but it's also really unusual. And there are a lot of reasons why.
Yeah. And I think that this was it was difficult for her to, they had this level of success. And to think about getting a divorce and losing some of that was really hard.
Are you kidding me? Yeah. And I mean, I am not a person who has been divorced, but a child of one. And financially, it fucks everything up.
Yeah.
I know that. I know that to be true.
Yeah.
So, I get her fear.
Kissimmee later claimed that he suggested setting Winston George up by planting drugs in his vehicle and reporting it to the police so that he would be convicted of a drug crime and then deported back to Trinidad. But Darlene George was concerned that Winston would know that it was she who set him up.
That's when she came up with the $1 million idea of a staged home invasion robbery. Kissimmee said he didn't want to go along with the plan, but George made him feel guilty because of all the help she had given him over the years.
George then enlisted her brother, Jeffrey Williams, to assist them. Williams had spent most of his adult life behind bars for robbery and attempted robbery. He had been released less than 6 months earlier. So here's a couple of men that I think she was easily able to manipulate. Yeah, because here's Kissimmee, who she's helped over the years, given him a place to live, probably gave him money, gave him a cell phone, and her brother, who just got released from prison, doesn't really, have a life yet.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they were vulnerable and unfortunately she took advantage of that.
Yeah, for sure.
And we know that Darlene is very, very intelligent. And so I don't imagine that would have been a difficult task
Too difficult,
for her.
yeah.
Approximately 1 week before the crime, George, Williams, and Cassimi met inside George's Chevy Blazer, which was parked outside the Brooklyn apartment building she owned, and where Cassimi lived, to plan to discuss the details of the home invasion and murder. George provided travel money and a detailed plan of what to do.
So on June 19th of 2008, which isn't that Juneteenth?
That
Juneteenth.
on the most sacred of Black holidays.
Yeah.
I just, another reason to dislike murder. To do it,
Yeah.
I mean,
to do it on Juneteenth.
to do it
Come
on Juneteenth of all days,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Anyway.
Yeah, so it was Juneteenth, June 19th in 2008. Williams and Cassimi traveled by bus from New York City to Portland, Maine. Security cameras at the Portland Transportation Center recorded Williams, who was wearing a burgundy football jersey, and Cassimi exiting the bus upon arrival.
At approximately 4:30 p.m., George picked them up some distance from the bus terminal to avoid being recorded by the CCTV cameras, the security cameras. And then she dropped the two men off at a motel near her house in Old Orchard Beach.
That same day, George's 13-year-old son, Giovanni, was getting ready for a month-long stay with relatives in New York. He had just graduated from middle school and was excited about the upcoming trip. To mark the occasion, he and his stepfather Winston, whom he affectionately called Pop, went out to lunch together.
Later, Winston left for work and was not expected home until after midnight. Around 6 p.m., George took Giovanni on a series of errands. They did some shopping to pick up some items for his upcoming trip, had dinner at TGI Fridays, Jack Daniel's Tower, sign me up, and then went to the grocery store and the bank.
As planned, the George's house sat empty during this time, and George had left it unlocked. Williams and Cassimi walked to the house from their nearby motel, entered, and prepared to execute their plan. Earlier that day, George had purchased 2 masks and a camouflage backpack for Williams and Cassimi to use during the home invasion.
But Williams and Cassimi could not locate the masks in the house, so instead they covered their faces with black nylon stockings that they found and put on latex gloves that George had left for them.
Putting on nylon stockings, that's terrifying. When
It is.
You cannot recognize somebody when they have a nylon stocking on. It's so weird.
Well, it's
looks so
also
weird.
jarring the way it distorts like
Your
a
face.
Yeah.
It looks so weird.
Mm-hmm,
I think I said that like 3 times. Did I mention?
Emphasis on W-E-I-R-D. Yeah.
Yeah. George and Giovanni came back to the house around 11 p.m. Giovanni did notice lights were on in the basement of the house, which he thought was unusual. And when he got inside, a man with a stocking over his face and a knife in his hand took him down, while another man attacked his mother.
Yeah, I mean, the violence was like instant.
Yeah, as soon as they
The way it was
came in.
described.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he initially tried to fight back, but his mother told him not to resist.
Which, if it was a real home invasion would be good advice because, he's holding a knife.
Right.
I would do the same thing.
Exactly. And so the man then took Giovanni to a bedroom, then tied him up with a sheet and blindfolded him. He said the blindfold was askew and he could see reflections from the hallway in the headboard. George was taken to the same room and also tied up.
Using Jamaican accents, the 2 men demanded drugs and money.
Give me the bumper clot drugs, man! No, I don't know how they did it. Yeah.
Exactly like that, yeah. It was, of course, Williams and Cassimi. George knew this, but Giovanni did not, and he must have been terrified. George later told the police that she believed it might have been a case of mistaken identity, that these men just went to the wrong house.
Yeah, and just a moment to appreciate what we know, that George planned this.
Yeah.
And her son is like in the midst of
Yes,
all of this.
and she planned it that way.
Terror. Yeah.
Yeah. She planned it that way.
It's really hard to sit with.
Yeah.
Really hard to sit with.
Yeah. Especially what we know about what a good mother she was. Like
Yeah.
how I just keep going back to that. How
Right?
yeah.
Right?
It's really weird.
Fruities, I'm sure you're thinking up many things, and please let us know.
Yeah.
So, in any case, all this is going on, and Winston arrived home around 1 a.m. He was attacked immediately after he entered the house. Williams struck Winston in the face and dragged him down to the basement. Giovanni later relayed that Winston asked about his family, said a prayer, I think he said the Lord's Prayer, and then, quote, it went silent, unquote.
Yeah.
They heard him recite the Lord's Prayer.
Yeah, and he was begging them not to hurt his family.
Yeah.
Once in the basement, Williams hogtied Winston with a rope and put a plastic bag over his head. Winston died from asphyxiation. To confirm that Winston was dead, Kissimmee cut a hole in the plastic bag and poured rum down his throat to see if he would react. After Winston failed to react, Kissimmee left the bottle lodged in his throat.
While this was happening, Giovanni told his mother, "Hey, Mom, the sheets are loose. I think I can untie myself and help Winston, or put a dresser in front of the bedroom doorway." But his mother told him it was too dangerous.
Yeah, and I thought about this a lot, and I think she wanted to give them a chance to get away.
Yeah.
Because they took a long time to call for help. Anyway, after murdering Winston, Williams and Kissimmee left the house, took Winston's car, and abandoned it in a nearby restaurant parking lot. They then took a cab to Portland, boarded a bus to Boston, then took another bus to New York.
At 5:45 a.m. on June 20th, Darlene George used Giovanni's cell phone to call 911, instructing him to stay put in case the intruders returned. Speaking in a hushed voice, the audio is available online.
Yeah.
Speaking in a hushed voice, she told the dispatcher that she and her 13-year-old son had just been the victims of a home invasion and that the perpetrators might still be inside the home.
During the call and in subsequent interviews with investigators, George claimed that 3 men had ambushed her family in their home, demanding drugs and money. She said the men tied her and her son up in a bedroom, then attacked her husband, Winston, when he arrived home from work.
So I just thought of something, that money and drugs, randomly somebody breaking into your house, doesn't make any sense. Like, that wouldn't happen unless you were a known drug dealer, right?
Yeah.
But they did have money, right? And so it's not totally out of the realm of possibilities that somebody would target them for their money.
Right, and she also suggested that maybe it was a case of mistaken identity. Maybe they meant to hit somebody else's house, you know? She did think of a lot of things.
Yeah. So she described the intruders as all wearing black nylon stockings over their faces and wearing latex gloves on their hands. One wore a brown professional sports jersey, another a blue t-shirt, and the third a burgundy polo or t-shirt. All 3 spoke with Jamaican accents. Remember the details from this first version of events.
Yeah. When the police arrived, they secured the premises and found Winston in the basement, hog-tied and asphyxiated to death. He had a plastic bag around his head and a bottle of rum forced down his throat.
The hog tying it's just such a nasty, evil thing to do to somebody.
Yeah. All of this is,
did you have to?
Yeah.
But Mama, did you have to do it that way? That's what I kept asking myself throughout this.
Yeah, it's true.
Did you gotta do it like that?
Did you have to do it like that?
Yeah.
It was pretty violent. Yeah.
So George said the men stole her work computer. They stole some jewelry, a mink coat, and this was the 90s, so it was still okay to have mink coats, and her husband's SUV. While Giovanni appeared distraught and terrified, George remained calm, a demeanor officers initially attributed to her efforts to comfort her son, but later found suspicious. So now let's get into the investigation and the arrest. Hit it, Beth.
Although Winston had died by asphyxiation, the rum bottle forced into his mouth suggested to investigators that this murder was personal. It was surmised that the perpetrators might have been someone close to him.
An APB was issued for Winston's SUV, which was later found abandoned outside of a restaurant. With help from a cab driver, police learned that the men had traveled via taxi to Portland, Maine, and boarded a bus bound for Boston, Massachusetts.
By reviewing the passenger manifest and surveillance videos, investigators were able to identify 2 men that were connected to George.
Okay.
Jeffrey Williams and Rennie Kissimmee.
Got him.
Yep. after reviewing additional bus manifests and videos, they learned that the two had been in Old Orchard Beach for less than 24 hours, during which time Winston was murdered. Don't be suspicious.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Ow. So,
like, it's so obvious.
It is.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing is these two men, what stood out to me is these are two black men, like, they stuck out like a sore thumb.
Yeah,
they were
in
like
a 98% white community.
Yeah,
there was no way they were going to get away with this.
Absolutely not. And I don't know, is that racism or justice? Who's to say?
Well, I mean, it is what it is, 98%, I mean, I'm sure there's racism.
Yeah.
But 98% white, and there's two black people.
People are going to notice.
Yeah, people are just going to notice.
It's just, it is what it is. You're absolutely right. OG True Crime, she did it again. Now, investigators also spoke with a witness, a woman who had seen two black men walking down the road near the house around 10 or 10:30 p.m. And give it up to this white lady who was not minding her business. This would have been nothing unusual in New York or in a lot of other places, but in Old Orchard Beach, Maine, it was something people noticed. And the lady actually said it was weird, quote unquote. So she
so
just did
that.
the whole show for us, basically.
Yeah, we didn't have to say all that before that.
We did. We could have just left it out.
Let's let it. Yeah. Well. While they found no evidence that Winston was involved in drug use or sales, they did uncover that he had lied to George about his whereabouts that night. He hadn't been at work at all, but was instead with his girlfriend.
No.
Someone he was having an affair with.
Oh.
So this suggested a motive to them. And George knew about this affair.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is a generalization. In my experience as a Caribbean person, I have heard it said that Caribbean men are generally not great at being faithful. That in particular,
they love the ladies.
They love the ladies. And somebody in my said, I'm not going to be a man, one of these Caribbean men with outside children, just refused.
Oh.
And so that's a point I have heard in my culture. So it is a thing.
Yeah. But also, their marriage was not going well.
Yes.
I don't know if Winston knew about Kissimmee or not, but, it was not going well. And I think that he actually was in love with this woman.
Yeah. But on paper, their businesses were doing well. They had the nice house.
On
they
paper,
had multiple
they were
houses.
doing well.
Their son was thriving, right? They were going to take this trip to New York to visit family. I guess the, what do you call that? Facade? Was on point.
Yeah, it was a good facade.
Yeah. So George was questioned and she claimed to not have known that Williams and Kissimmee had been in town. However, police soon discovered that on the day of the homicide, she had gone to an army surplus store where she had bought 2 masks and a camouflage backpack. Nowhere near Halloween.
Yeah.
The exact same backpack that Williams was seen with in surveillance videos when he left Maine.
Yeah, so the surveillance videos when he came to Maine, he had no backpack. And the surveillance videos when he left, he had a camouflage backpack.
What's
and
up
it's the
with that?
same backpack that she bought. So
Ooh,
yeah.
Oh, what's up with that? Oh, what's up with that? What's up with that? Sorry.
So police arrested Kissimmee in New York on June 26th, and Williams turned himself in on June 30th. On July 7th, George testified in front of the York. I got confused here because it's the York County Grand Jury, but it's in Maine.
York County in Maine. Got
York
it.
County in Maine. She was called back again to testify on September 2nd.
Okay, so if you ever hear grand jury associated with Wendy or Fruitloops, it's over. It's over. They got you.
They got us.
So investigators continued the investigation into Darlene George's role. And she was finally arrested on March 5th of 2009. So where are we from the murder? Like 9 months.
Yeah, it's a while.
Mm-hmm. So ultimately, all three were charged with murder and conspiracy to commit murder, and all three pleaded not guilty to both counts. So now let's get into the trial. What, Beth?
Prosecutors built their case with bus station surveillance videos, bank records, phone records, and interviews with several people who had seen Williams and Kissimmee in Old Orchard Beach, such as the lady who had seen them walking down the street and an employee at the motel.
I was just thinking about the trial, like, ma'am, can you testify to what you saw? Like, if she was just like, I'm not racist, but
there was two black men.
Now, I mean, if there ever was a time
suspiciously walking down the street.
Yeah. If there ever was a time for that to kind of be okay, maybe this trial might be it. I mean, and also other people might profoundly disagree with me. So anyway, right. And in March of 2009, the state filed a notice of joinder to join Williams, George, and Kissimmee for trial. So they'd have one trial, one judge, one jury, all the defendants. And George's attorneys moved to sever the trials, but were unsuccessful. And specifically, they severed the juries. So George was able to get her own jury, but they were all still there at the same place.
The trial would be the same,
yes.
But there'd be different juries for each defendant.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
mm-hmm.
Got it.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, cause you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things. People. Love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Then on January 26, 2010, before the trial could take place, Kissimmee accepted a plea offer by prosecutors who agreed to recommend a prison sentence of 8 years, which is great for that crime.
Considering?
Yeah.
What?
If he pleaded guilty. In exchange, Kissimmee agreed to testify against George and Williams, and he became the key witness against them.
He claimed that he did help carry out the ambush, but blamed Williams for the actual killing. Kissimmee and George wanted Winston George dead because he was having an affair, and she wanted sole control of the 5 properties that they owned together.
At the joint trial for Darlene George and Jeffrey Williams, a transcript from her grand jury testimony was read out in court. In it, George denied that she was involved in a romantic relationship with Kissimmee. She said that she was a close friend to him and his family, and that because he does not read English, she was just helping him with some paperwork.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's all.
That's the thing with grand juries, because they don't call you there if they don't think they got you. And that's just so stupid. There's so much. And it was also the 90s and before, like, it feels like in 2025, you really can't get away with anything because everybody has a camera. There's surveillance everywhere.
Ring cameras.
Yeah. But in the 90s, it was not so.
It was different.
For all the babies listening now, there was a time
it
when...
wasn't like that.
Yeah. So George said that her marriage to Winston George had been good and that she was even seeing a fertility expert in an effort to become pregnant. She claimed that she had no idea that Kissimmee and Williams had come to Maine on June 19th, 2008.
She also said that 3 men, not 2, ambushed her and Giovanni at the home and that they wore black nylon stockings over their faces, so she didn't recognize any of them.
Mm-hmm. On the 3rd day of the trial, Giovanni, who had by then been 15 years old, he took the stand. And he was living in a foster home in Old Orchard Beach. and had just completed his sophomore year of high school.
He testified that he saw only 2 men during the apparent home invasion. He also said that he had a difficult time understanding Kissimmee, who's from Trinidad, but was able to easily understand the Jamaican accents of the intruders. So I think he was like, well, it probably wasn't Kissimmee because I can't understand him, but he did say that he only saw 2 men. So I think he was just telling the truth.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And also, I mean, okay, Giovanni, if anybody is keeping score, he had that horrible event in June of 2008. And, the day before, he thought he was going to New York to go see his family.
He was
and
all
celebrate.
excited about it. Yeah.
And then he just finishes his sophomore year of high school, and now he's got to do this testifying shit in a murder trial
my God.
that his mother
That poor
orchestrated
kid.
of his fucking dad.
Yeah.
So just additional
Giovanni.
context. Context. Poor Giovanni, exactly. So Darlene George and her brother Jeffrey Williams were convicted of the murder of Winston George by a jury on June 26, 2010 in York County Superior Court in Alfred, Maine. And they were sentenced a few months later. So now let's get into where are they now? Tell us, Beth.
Darlene George is serving a 40-year prison sentence at Maine Correctional Center Women's Services, while Williams was sentenced to life in prison and is serving his time at Maine State Prison.
In 2012, after an appeal, the Maine Supreme Judicial Court upheld their murder convictions. In prison, we understand that George has participated in programs to further her education, and in the prison that she was comfortable there, and she acted as sort of a queen bee on the unit, sort of squashing squabbles as they came up with the other young female people who were incarcerated, and that she also commanded respect. And clearly she's, you can't forget Darlene. Well, I'll remember Darlene.
Yeah. So Giovanni was a minor at the time of this incident and was put into the foster care system. We think he's still living in Maine. And as far as we know, Giovanni never visited his mother / the person who orchestrated his father's murder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't say.
Yeah. And we hope that wherever he is, he's doing okay.
And that's for real, for real.
Yeah.
So now we're going to get into our takes. That's it for the story. Please let us know what you think. We'd love to keep the discussion going. And if there's any additional information that you have,
let us know.
Let us know. We love to learn and know more. So, Beth, well, what do you think? What are your thoughts? OG, a true crime?
So I think George she was described as determined and ambitious.
Yeah.
And I think she got to a point where she had all these properties and was comfortable and didn't want to lose that.
Nope.
And then she was furious with her husband for having an affair.
Mm-hmm.
Even though she was having an affair herself, it sounds like she didn't think of Kissimmee as husband material.
Yeah.
She was fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
But Winston was having an affair with a coworker. And it sounds like they were in love, and he was planning to leave George. And she definitely was not okay with that. So she was mad at him.
Mm-hmm.
I think she just could not quit Kissimmee.
Yeah.
And I wonder what would have happened if she had. If she had actually committed herself to her marriage.
Ooh.
Because she'd been having this affair with Kissimmee.
For a long time?
Yeah, since before she even met Winston, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe, I think it was before she met him.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just wonder what would have happened.
Yeah.
And then also, I feel for Giovanni, and I don't really understand how she was able to put him in the situation that she put him in.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Being described as a wonderful mother.
My Lord.
And then doing this. It seemed like she kind of lost her mind.
Yes. That's what I thought too. And
she snapped.
But it wasn't like a sudden snap, right? Like,
it was
she
kind
wasn't
of a
washing
slow
the dishes
burn
and he
snap.
was like, "Hey babe, could you have
And
me a
then
beer?" And then
she just beat him
like
over the
comes
head
and
with
whips
a
out a
pot or
machete.
something.
And, no, exactly. It was a little bit
It
more
was a slow burn.
Slow than that. And I completely agree with you, Beth. I felt that she had a lot of relatable qualities to me. And like her circumstances, I felt like I really understood from my own experience. And I saw her as this Black woman with an education and driven. This is the generation. So she's like my mom's generation, the generation of Black people. I didn't get it out very well in the last episode that we covered, but there's this generation of Black American people whose parents grew up in the Jim Crow South area time and have that mentality and raised people like Darlene George to succeed at all costs, essentially.
Right. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
We worked really hard for you to get a good education, to not have a criminal record, and to own property and live the American dream as a Black person.
Emphasizing that, yeah.
Yes. And we don't know about her childhood, so that I'm just assuming that. But based on my experience in this world,
what we
that's
know
what I
of
think.
her,
Mhm,
yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so she was just very, very, very driven to succeed and provide for her son and give him all the things, right? We want our children to be better off than we were. And that's what her parents did to her. And that's what she did. But she really lost sight of Giovanni in all of this.
She really did.
And it sounds like, they were living so lavishly in a really white place, which also fucks with your head, if I'm being honest. There was probably an angel and a devil saying, hell yeah, we made it. I'm rich, bitch. But also, you better not lose a shit. You better not. Yeah. Don't fuck it up.
Yeah, don't fuck it up.
Yeah. And I can imagine the fear of losing everything, the wealth, the husband, the house, and the Sancho, which is Espanol for my male dick side piece on the side. Amen. It makes even the smartest person's capacity for discernment just leave the building. Just not present and accounted for. Discernment, are you here? Nope, I don't have any of it. And people get away with murder all the time. And an excuse that has worked oftentimes in the past is the Black guy did it. But these Black guys had very terrible accents and were the only Black people in the whole state, as far as I could tell. And people noticed. And it just makes me really, really sad that part of the lack of her discernment made her think it was reasonable, or just the thought was absent from her that she was killing her son's father for money. And their entire
he was
life.
present for it.
For it. And you will lose your child if you do something like this. I don't know why that didn't occur to her. And that makes me sad. And Giovanni went through a horrifically traumatic, violent event and loss of his father. And then the trial, and then his mom getting locked up. I mean,
going into the foster
kids,
system.
Kids who experience that alters their trajectory in life. And so it's I just don't have words because it's really sad.
Yeah.
And Winston's family will never get him back. So again, all I can say is just rest in power to Winston George. Love and healing energy to Giovanni wherever he is, and to Winston's family and everybody affected by this.
Yeah.
Beth, where can the people find us?
Our website is fruitloopspod.com, and we use Fruit Loops Pod for all of our social media.
This is a weekly podcast, and new episodes drop every Thursday. So until next time, look alive, y'all. It's crazy out there.